You do your we are live. Okay. There's Gary. Okay. All right. I'll just I have mine over there. Okay. So yeah, we're ready to
Welcome, everybody. Nobody can hear me? You can hear me, but you can't hear me. Is it working now? No. Uh-oh. Things. Can you hear me? Okay, great. You can hear me. Thank you for coming tonight. We're going to start off with a little reel for you guys to watch before we jump into the main portion of the presentation. So I hope you enjoy it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. If this is your first Park Talk, welcome. If it isn't, welcome back. Thanks for being here. As many of you know by now, this lodge was finished in 1938, about the same time as the Log Cabin Cafe across the street. If it looks familiar, there's a reason for that. It's currently owned by Henry Finkbeiner, who's gracious enough to let us use the space free of charge every Friday. We can give Henry a quick round of applause. These talks were started many years ago with a few goals in mind, chief of which was to try to build a sense of community, both for those who are just passing through and for those who have lived here for a long time. Tanner is fortunate enough to have been able to call this community his part-time home for basically his entire life, as have generations before him. Many of the wildlife we're going to see in his films tonight are also part of our community, though not a human one. With that, Tanner Haber.
How's everybody doing? Good? Good. It's a hot day outside today. I don't know how I feel about that. My name's Tanner. Um, I'm a wildlife filmmaker. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, but recently moved to Cody, Wyoming. I have spent a large portion of my life visiting Yellowstone throughout the years and learning more about its spaces and wild beings that call it home with my grandfather. And tonight we're gonna talk about bears, wolves, elk, pronghorn, coyotes, and everything in between. So a little bit about me, how I became a wildlife filmmaker, immersed myself in the profession. I actually kind of just decided one day, hey, spending all this time in Yellowstone is it's really valuable to me, and it kind of hits me in my core in a way that no other place does. So I might as well give it a try and see what I can do with it. I decided to just kind of go off on a limb and purchase some professional gear. Prior to that, I worked on a farm for almost a decade. When COVID rolled around, I think we can all agree that the world was a little uncertain about what was going on. So with that, I decided to stop working on the farm that I was working on and invest all of my time in wildlife filmmaking. From there, I purchased gear, as I mentioned. I started teaching myself how to use it as best as I could, even though that's, as any greenhorn could say, that's probably not the best move to be in, or position to be in, best move to make, but the school of YouTube is a great one. And so is the school of Google. From there, I just kept doing it. I kept spending time out in the field, learning how to use my gear and shooting. And I eventually ran into the right people and got to learn more that were doing it professionally. And I have now been doing it professionally for 6 years. So for me, as I mentioned, Yellowstone's been a large part of my life since childhood. My grandpa grew up around these parts. My great uncle owned a outfitter and a ranch just down the road here on Chief Joseph called the Few Acres Ranch. Shortly after World War II, in the 50s and 60s, my great grandmother loaned him the money to purchase the piece of ground after he got out of the war. And from there, he built a homestead and was pursuing his dream of peace, I'm assuming after what he had experienced. He was actually one of the last people in the ecosystem to lawfully harvest grizzly bears before they were removed, or before they were put back on the endangered species list, or put on the endangered species list. My grandpa, so he played dude boy for him on his ranch and helped him with pack trips and hunting trips and all the things in between in the summertime and the fall. And he grew a love for Yellowstone at an early age, similar to where I'm at right now. I'm 26 years old, so many years ago he was doing that at my age. And then I came along, and when I was old enough to not be too troublesome on long car rides and long trips, he decided to take me to Yellowstone for the first time when I was 5. From there, we went every year for about a month at a time, every May and June, up through high school and early college, when I decided to pick up filmmaking. And now he still visits me every year, and we still do the same thing that we've done for as long as I can remember, the past 21 years. And I can certainly say I probably wouldn't be doing this without his influence. So it quickly became more than just a career. As you can imagine, the great outdoors in a place like Yellowstone is unlike any other. It became a large passion for me and a escape from all the troubles of life, much like it is for many people. I'm sure experienced fishermen. I see Marshall Woolman here in the front. It's very good to see you. I could say the same thing. Whether you're just guiding pack trips, or you're guiding hunting trips, or you're fishing, or you're just hiking, or you're exploring, or you're wildlife watching, or whatever it might be. I mean, it's kind of hard to be at a place like this and and didn't do anything else. And years watching wildlife in Yellowstone, filmmaking taught me to see individuals as individuals and to see them differently. It's amazing what storytelling does and trying to pursue a story does. You start recognizing the same faces year after year when it comes to bears, when it comes to wolves, like many things, and you start to get a deeper insight into who they really are and what their personalities are really like. In my opinion, from what I've witnessed, they're all different. Everybody has good days and everybody has bad days, but just like you and I, and there are behaviors and there are personalities that separate them all. Learning to read wildlife, a big part of my job is behavior. Behavior dictates almost everything because it's the greatest storytelling motive there is. So whether it is a pack of wolves chasing a bull elk and making their first successful hunt in, who knows how long, or whether it's a grizzly bear mother raising cubs to be successful and all the hardships she faces to do that, keeping them away from larger bears, preventing them from getting hit by cars, drowning in swollen rivers. Uh-oh. Looks like we have a dead mic. Great, I'll take it from you. Thank you.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah. It matters. So the more time I spend watching wildlife, the more I realize how much is happening before I even click the record button. I'm sure you hear it from wildlife photographers and filmmakers, if you're familiar or have friends that do it all the time, that waiting is a real thing. And spending a lot of time searching for what you're looking for is definitely a large part of the job. However, proper preparation prevents poor performance. And when those moments do happen on camera, it's because an extremely large amount of time and effort and money spent and sleepless nights and sleepless days happen. So I'm going to share a couple stories with you guys that are some of my favorite that I've actually just witnessed previously. Two of the scenes we're going to watch that I threw together for you tonight happened this year. One happened last year. And this is, I'm sure you can see, this is an outline here that I've spent a lot of time with in the past. Some of the greatest storytellers on the planet and some of the storytellers we know the least about. So I'm going to play a quick video for you. This is, in my mind, the best way to sum this up is drawing danger away. I witnessed this in Lamar Valley earlier this June, or earlier this spring in the month of June. This took place between a pronghorn doe and a pack of 6 coyotes. And based on my conclusions, these coyotes had been watching this pronghorn probably for the majority of the day or a portion of the day, feeding in the valley below, and recognized or came to find that she had a fawn that she was probably nursing, blew its cover, and they came down to investigate to see if they could find it. Like any good mother would do, you'll see what's about to happen next. She took the time to do the best that she could to draw them away from the area, but unfortunately didn't succeed. So this coyote right here seems to be the one leading the hunt or the search for the fawn, along with its other pack members. Right here, it briefly sees a ground squirrel and decides, oh, can't find that. I guess it's back to the main mission. And 2 more appear in frame. And for a moment, it's seeming as if they're also looking for ground squirrels, but they're gathering information and maybe even, in a way, communicating with each other, waiting for their other pack members to begin searching for the pronghorn fawn that they knew was there. So they start moving along, and shortly they run into the pronghorn doe, who is very alert of their presence and who is watching very intently because she knows that she is now in a very bad situation. Her kid's in a very bad situation. So they're having a little Mexican standoff here. And then eventually one of the coyotes makes a move, and she escapes narrowly, and they begin their hunt. From what I put together and collected right off the bat is she is actively trying to present herself as a distraction, and she is moving in ways that says, hey, like, I'm over here, don't go over there. They don't know that, but if you want something, chase me. I'll give you just enough time to keep your attention on me and see if you can get me so you don't walk over that way and end up snooping around and finding my kid. So then she'd move into this phase of charging the coyotes and chasing them around one by one, trying to remove them from where she knew that's where I hid my calf. The coyotes were momentarily confused, didn't really know where to look. They had spent so much time trying to find the fawn, but couldn't. And by this point, she's just exhausted and doing everything in her power to get away from them and steer them in the wrong direction. I'll tell you, it was amazing not only to witness how fast pronghorn are at their top speed. This was filmed in slow motion, as you can tell, but also how quick coyotes are. This behavior went on for almost 2 hours, a constant back and forth, dragging the coyotes away from where the calf was, chasing them away, and the coyotes chasing her in return. Right here, you can see how close she got to actually stomping one on its hind ends, but coyotes are pretty squirrely and can move pretty fast. And I mean, they just keep kind of popping out of the sagebrush. So eventually she starts to really go into panic mode because they're gaining ground on her and they're beginning to find what's going on. And right here, you can actually see she's stomping a group of 4 coyotes that have already found her calf in the sagebrush. So she's trying to remove them from the calf, licking up rocks, portions of sagebrush as she goes along, and she's just not gaining any ground. They'll scatter briefly. Right here, she actually gets bit on the side of her body and then decides, okay, that's a close call, too close for my comfort, even though they found my baby, and I'm going to give him a little bit of space for a second. And then returns to attempt to remove them again. There is nothing like a mother's love. Eventually, it got to the point where she realized there was nothing that she could do. The coyotes made quick work of the little pronghorn fawn, and unfortunately for the pronghorn doe, it just was not a very good day. However, as we all know, this ecosystem supports life in different areas, so the coyotes got to go back to their den, feed their puppies, and all was well. I think some really important notes to take away from that behavior is that survival, it truly is more than just brute strength. As you can see, a picture of a large male grizzly bear here. kind of the top of the food chain here, and nobody really contests them. Outside of 2,500 pounds of horn and hoof, those big bull bison you see walking around through the park that know that, unless they're injured, they're kind of the kings of this realm. But as we saw with the pronghorn and the coyotes, knowing when to fight and when to flee is really important in the wild. In that situation, obviously, she was doing a little bit of both. She was fighting and chasing the coyotes all over the place. She was, trying to remove them from the area where she hid her calf, and she was trying to distract them and take them away from what she loved most. However, coyotes have teeth, and they're fast, and they come in numbers, so she had to run away. Protecting their young without exposing them, much like elk do as well, mule deer, which I've witnessed mule deer chasing coyotes in similar situations, and elk chasing wolves in similar situations, trying to keep them out of keep their calves out of the clutches of the predators. It's just instinct, and it seems to be a common trend. But conserving energy and knowing when to give up might be one of the more important things. I mean, there gets to be a point where we understand that there's just nothing I can do without putting myself in imminent danger now. And if I keep attempting to, rescue my baby, it might get to a point where, one of these coyotes doesn't just bite me next time, it grabs me and it holds on to me just in time for another one of the pack members to, grab me also. And then I have two different beings stuck on me and I can't shake them off. And then she goes also out of the reproductive cycle. So now we'll move on to another scene on food source competition with two of Yellowstone's most famous species, grizzly bears and wolves. So this took place earlier this spring on the Yellowstone River. This is a large male grizzly bear and the alpha female of the Wapiti pack, who is patiently waiting her turn because that is one big bear. And if there's anything that wolves understand, it's that really big bears like this deserve respect, especially when it's just you. Soon after, as he's enjoying his meal, another collared wolf from the Wapiti pack begins to slowly snoop around and inspect the situation and see if maybe I can get in there for a couple scraps and I won't be swiped at or lunged towards. But quickly decides that, oh wait, there's a couple pieces of meat that have floated down under the surface here in the water, so I guess I'll just be content with those for the time being. It's said that wolves can recognize individual bears, and when they come across certain individuals, they respect where they're lying on the food chain, and that determines, whether I'm going to test this guy or whether I'm just going to let this guy have his turn and wait my turn. This seems to be the case right here. This wolf realizes that, hey, I can't push him off no matter how hard I try. Who knows? May saw him in the past and decided that it wasn't worth it. Sure, you guys just saw him completely flip over that almost fully intact adult bison carcass with his mouth, which just comes to show you how strong and serious these guys are. I could never imagine picking, whatever might be there, 700, 800, 900 pounds up with my mouth and flipping it over. And I think the wolf's kind of in awe too. He's kind of just standing there like, wow, yeah, see, that's why I'm not eating right now. Wish I had claws and hands and a giant hump like that was full of muscle and built for digging and pulling things and dragging things all over the place. The pesky ravens behind were ever so present, and the presence of wolves and grizzly bears waiting their turn also. The one down in the back towards the bottom of the bison here, that's waiting its turn. Soon appeared a second bear, and this bear is much smaller. It might not seem like it here, but it is quite a bit smaller, and being patient also because it knows that it's not the king of the roost. It's believed that this bear could have been a female bear, giving what might have been a ex-boyfriend the chance to just do his thing before she makes her move, but she got impatient and decided to make her way downhill and just kind of test out the situation, see where things are, and see if you might be giving her the chance to come in and get the chance to come in and get a bite for herself. I mean, this big guy is completely unbothered by her presence, and just realizes that as long as I'm here, nobody's messing with me. So the other bear decides to give up. It's probably not worth getting tied into a knot, and I'm just gonna let him have his fill and put some space in between him and I. They eat a lot. So eventually that big guy goes strolling out of the scene, and the birds immediately flock in on top of what's left there on the bank of the river. But not too soon after, the wolves immediately show up. I mean, really interesting behavior here of waiting for the bear to leave, and being patient, but not waiting long at all, like seconds. And then arriving to, just feed themselves and eat like they've been waiting for at this point, was hours. They certainly presented themselves as famished, and were just tugging as much as they could, and trying to consume as much as they possibly could before they were bumped off by that same bear or another bear again. Both of these wolves do have collars. If you were wondering, the white wolf does have a collar. I'm unfamiliar. I heard recently that this white wolf might not be the alpha female of the Wapiti pack anymore. It's unclear to me, but she gets her fill, she moves away, and here comes the other bear that was patiently waiting its turn for the big guy to leave. Taking over the carcass for itself now. As you saw, that darker gray wolf there was not happy about that. It showed its teeth a little bit, and it was pretty irritated that the smaller bear came up back. It's like, man, we just waited for like 2 hours. Why are you here now? Like, seriously? And the smaller bear took a different approach and decided to just stand on top of the carcass to get the good portions of meat that the big guy flipped over for it. I hope nobody's squeamish in here. It's not too bad. However, I wouldn't eat it. So the wolves, unlike with the last bear, where they were keeping more space and distance between them and the very large grizzly, they're actually going to hang out on the bank of the river and stay relatively close to this bear. It's probably because they know who this bear is, and they know that, yes, this bear commands respect, and we're not going to go in there and tug him off the carcass while he's there, or while it's there, but we also don't have to go sit up and lay down in the trees while it's there either, like we did with the last guy, who must have had a poor temperament, and they must have ran into him before. However, they're still going to wait their turns to be kind. Shortly after a third wolf appears, this would be the alpha male of the Wapiti pack, who is also collared. So now we have 3 collared wolves here. And much like the alpha female and the dark gray, it's kind of giving the bear a chance to, get its fill quickly. If you can see the size comparison actually between the alpha male here and this grizzly bear, it's pretty astounding. That's a big wolf, and that's not a small bear. It's small in bear terms, but not the smallest bear in the world. The ravens, I'm sure, for these guys are just, they get a little pesky. So eventually, waiting for the bear to get its fill. The wolves get a little cheekier, and the bear quickly demonstrates why it commands respect. That wolf in the back's just reaching in for something, and I was told very quickly to back away. And this isn't yours right now, it's mine. I'm sure we're all familiar with how possessive bears can be around food sources and carcasses, and just how dangerous it can be to approach a bear on a carcass, stumble upon a carcass accidentally that might have a bear present, and just get too close to a food source that is this valuable, especially this time of year, which was taken in early May. The bears are pretty fresh out of hibernation, particularly smaller bears, and they haven't had much to eat for a long time. So this is not a good situation for us to be in, let alone, if the wolves are being this respectful, kind of just comes to show that maybe we all should. So this ends with pretty much a stand down. The wolves are, after being charged once, they've decided that, okay, I don't want to interfere anymore or mess with this guy anymore, and we'll just kind of leave it to him. So I think the bigger picture with that is that food, risk, territory, energy, and whether you have kids or not, all play a huge part in decision making. It was very apparent there, and almost even kind of slow that risk versus reward, they're real calculations in the wild, and just taking one swipe from a bear can mean the difference between a broken leg, a broken jaw, death, or severe injury. So it's good to know when to fight and when to just be patient and not get too big for your britches. Every day that these animals live in this ecosystem, they're faced with a series of decisions that determine their survival. They're constantly thinking and responding to all of the information that's given to them around them. Grizzly bears are a great example of this. So are wolves, but bears are my favorite examples of this. Bears have wonderful memory. They're extremely intelligent. And, it doesn't take long for them to really begin to figure out where to find particular food sources, given times of year, with the change of seasons. And most individuals that I've experienced and I've watched for years in the wild have returned to the same places in search of the same foods year after year. Whether that's berries, spawning cutthroat trout, elk calves, biscuit root, or army cutworm moths high in elevation. They're constantly responding to their environment and food source availability around them and making their decisions, life decisions based on that. So, question for you guys. It's right now, it is, it's late August. Has anybody heard any elk bugle yet? No, not yet. A little early. Well, with the bison rut slowly coming to an end, I figured in honor of fall approaching, we would watch a little scene on the elk rut. This was not taken in Yellowstone. This was taken in the state of Colorado, where I grew up. However, much of the same behaviors occur here, and we'll talk about a test of rivals, and we'll get excited hopefully for some bugling and antlers banging, and those swords on their heads that you need to stay away from, especially in the mammoth area. So fall is undoubtedly one of my favorite. Spring and fall are actually both my favorite seasons. I just love cooler weather coming in, rainy nights that turn mountains into foggy mornings, maybe a little bit of snowfall with the changing colors, snow up high, and it's just wet and gloomy and moody down low. And of course, the sound of bugles, streams shrinking and trickling by, and shorter days. As we're familiar with large bull elk, this is their time of year. Tromping through aspens and chasing cows and bugling to warn everybody that, hey, my girls, stay away from them. This is my hill. This was taken in Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado, just outside of Estes Park. The elk there, in my experience, they are very different from Yellowstone elk. They grow to be much larger, and they bugle way more. It is my conclusions I believe that has happened. Grizzly bears and wolves dictate their movements strongly here around these parts. And I believe that the elk have grown wiser and have realized that, hey, the more we talk, the more we bugle, and the bigger of a fuss that we make. I mean, there are other things out here listening to us that will follow us and that will chase us and that will hunt us. Because they have mouths to feed too. So we're just going to keep it a little quieter. The bugling in Colorado, I've noticed, it can go on for, 24 hours a day until the elk literally start to lose their voices. In late season, they will bugle, and it doesn't even sound like a bugle. It just sounds like a dry cough, which is pretty funny, but at the same time, makes sense. And as far as size goes, as you can see, this is a really large 6x6. Their natural predators are so few and far in between, with the town of Estes Park surrounding Rocky Mountain National Park. We really don't have any competition from hunters either. So we get some weird, non-typical guys. Big antlers. They like to pee on themselves and roll around in it, and get their stomachs wet and impress the ladies. But as much as they have to put on a show, the competition's never far behind them. They're constantly responding to bugles from opposing bulls. They're constantly rubbing on trees, urinating on themselves and doing what they have to maintain a hierarchy. Some of these fellows are into headgear. I guess if it makes you look bigger or look prettier, it might give you a better chance with the ladies. So yeah, maybe a little more will do. A little elk fashion show for you. But, fashion can't last forever. It's time to go test my mettle against the big guy and see if we can't get it on and I can't take his harem from him. So that big elk back behind there is pretty much towering over this other 6x6, but it's not the size of the fight. The dog in the fight is the size of the fight in the dog. And he is fully willing to take advantage of him if he can and fight him to the best of his capabilities, even though he's literally getting pushed around backwards. As much as he's trying to stay on top of the game and stay ahead, he just can't. He's getting jabbed in the back of the neck with those antlers. He's getting fur scraped off. He's literally just getting bulldozed through the meadow. And this just comes to show you guys how badly these animals want it and how much it means to them, and how far they're willing to go to reproduce, and in this case with the elk, have a harem of their own. So in this David Goliath scenario, the whole time he just keeps getting pushed around and coming back for more. Will eventually, the strength of the bull on the left is just too much for him to bear, and he gives up. They both give, I wonder if they were cursing at each other there, but parting bugles. And the loser struts off, panting out of exhaustion, and turns to look at the winner one last time before leaving the meadow. Who is going now to return to his cows that he just got in the fight over and was contested over. This is actually one of the larger bull elk I've ever seen in the wild. Fortunately, I'm an elk hunter and I believe in hunting and conservation. Was just harvested last fall. All right, so we're going to do a little shift in what we're talking about here. So currently, right now, with the Skyline Guest Ranch, I will be doing 2 wildlife filmmaking summits. One in mid-October and one in late January. I was approached by them not too long ago to see if I had any interest, maybe sharing my expertise and knowledge of filmmaking and in the wildlife realm with others, and I agreed. I think it would be great. We're going to be spending 6 days here in Yellowstone, filming wildlife during the fall, during the late rut, and in the winter, hopefully if there's any good wolf action or other wildlife action going on. And it really is the workshop that I wish that I had when I started, because it's not YouTube and it's not Google. So it'll be all inclusive. I will be instructing the course. We'll be doing what I practice and preach to my fellow cinematographers and what I've learned from them in the field, reading behavior and anticipating movements, telling stories by just building stronger scenes and becoming a better shooter or learning how to become a better shooter, and talking cameras and workflows and all the things that people maybe didn't know that signed up coming into this, that little one-on-one experience might help there. So if you know anybody that's interested, anybody that might find this beneficial or has a passion to potentially become a wildlife filmmaker, we need more storytellers. We need more conservation storytellers with, what happens in this world. And anybody can come. Even just people that are solely photographers that are interested in pursuing filmmaking or getting to be better filmmakers because they're just interested in it and want to learn a little more about conservation storytelling. All levels are welcome. You don't need any experience. You don't need the best, most expensive camera gear you can buy. Just bring the camera that you have, bring yourself, and just be willing to learn and be willing to have a good time and work with a good team. So for our fall summit, we only have 2 spots remaining. For our winter wildlife filmmaking summit, registration's open. We also have a few spots remaining there. You can find this information at skylinesafari.com and do the best that you can to make it if you're interested. Moving forward, recently I also created a guide with my business partner. It's a digital guide to Yellowstone, and it's called Yellowstone Made Simple. Basically, our thoughts behind this were, there's a lot of people that visit Yellowstone every year that, are unfamiliar with, where to go or what to do. We don't give out wildlife locations exclusively or anything specific. However, it's those general things that do matter and that you're probably not going to find on Google or anywhere else based on our experiences. We tried to tailor this to be pretty specific and pretty universal at the same time. So you get a little bit of Yellowstone's history in there, wildlife, best times of year to see them, their behaviors, what I've witnessed as a filmmaker, and what Julia Cook, who's my business partner, has witnessed as a photographer. Some of the best places to go to see Yellowstone while you're here, and some of the best hikes and fishing spots and all those things that people like to do in the outdoors, getting to be a little adventurous. We do have itineraries too. We have 1 day, 3 day, and 5 day itineraries. The most important thing to stress about this is we wanted something that people could have that they could bring to Yellowstone on their phone and that they could use without cell phone service. Much of the park doesn't have cell phone service, and if you're in a pinch or you don't know what to do, or you're just visiting Yellowstone for a brief amount of time and you're unfamiliar with it, it's a great start to make a more of a stressful trip and probably something that won't be such a headache. So as far as documenting the lives of wildlife in this ecosystem goes, and on the lines of the summit I just mentioned and all else, these lives are unfolding every day, and it doesn't matter whether anybody's here to see them or not, document them or not, study them or not. If we're not here in the present, we can't do that. And I think Yellowstone is, in my mind, it's the crown jewel of wildlife and scenery in the lower 48, my biased opinion, in North America. There's just no place like it, and it will be here long after we are all gone. So while we can, I think it's important to continue telling stories, sharing our insights, documenting animals and their behaviors, talking to others about them, and just bouncing questions off of one another. Being naturalists and taking the time to immerse ourselves into a place that is so well understood, but is so misunderstood at the same time. There's so many things that we know, but there's so many things that we don't. There's really no place like Yellowstone, and thank you all so much for coming tonight and spending the evening with me. How about some questions?
how much you rely on your own experience in the environment and waiting for the wildlife to show up versus the tips and suggestions of like, oh, there's a carcass out here, come check it out?
I have a lot of friends that, if they see something, they'll say, hey man, this is what's going on over here. It's a trade-off. I share what I see also. But there are times where I kind of just turn my phone off and I just want to spend time outside by myself and kind of do my own thing. So a lot of it comes from friends and past experience too. Just knowing where certain individual animals like to hang out, what they're looking for at certain times of year and all the things. Good question, thank you. So you did, yeah. So actually, as of this year, 2026, we don't need permits anymore to document wildlife commercially in Yellowstone. Prior to this year, it's actually been overturned twice. So it went from having to have a permit to commercially document wildlife, which was like a $300 fee and a $300 permit that you had to carry around with you in your car, like your insurance, your registration, presented and fast. It got overturned for some reason. I'm unfamiliar why. Got turned back to the way that it was, where you needed a permit. And then now you don't need a permit anymore. Even sizable camera crews don't need a permit. It just really depends on what you're trying to do. But as far as like solo individuals go, if you're looking to go out in Yellowstone right now and film wildlife with a small camera or even a large setup, it's totally fine.
How close were you to each of the issues that you shared with us?
How to each of them?
Yeah, proximity wise. Were you 300 feet away?
Yep.
Close range? Or?
I definitely leave some room to zoom. I have quite a bit of zoom that I work with. I use a Sigma 60-600, so I can get 600 yards out there. And I use a Canon 50 by 1000, which has a built-in teleconverter that can get to 1200 yards. For all of these scenes that you guys watched, some of the clips that I got, I always try to maintain a safe standard and a safe distance because people are watching and I want to be respectful towards wildlife and I don't want to bump anything or scare anything. So I try to always, like, at least, as the park recommends, 100 yards or 25 yards, but sometimes you just can't prevent it. For the majority of what you saw tonight, there's actually a pretty big distance gap in between me and most of the wildlife. I've just gotten good at editing and I know how to make things look good and closer than they actually were. It's important for storytelling to get close-ups, big pretty pictures, wide landscapes, and then medium shots and stuff. Do you have any more questions?
How much does all that equipment weigh?
So the setup that I use now is just shy of 60 pounds. I can break it down and get it around 40. Yeah, but if I'm using a larger lens and a larger camera brain, that requires it's really the tripod that weighs so much, that's so heavy. And that throws in a huge quirk and a huge wrench into the operation sometimes, especially if you're packing it in and out of places on your back or walking down the highway. It's a lot to be careful with too, with traffic, oncoming traffic coming and going by, and or just like wet, steep hillsides that are muddy and slick. I hope I don't need back surgery.
Last question. Tanner, what's your favorite animal to film and why?
Ooh, my favorite animals to film. I'm a big grizzly bear guy. I love filming grizzly bears. I think they're just amazing, and I think they really shape wildness in a way that no other animal can. That's my bias. However, I really like filming mountain lions. Mountain lions have stories that are deeply elusive and forged in secrecy. And mountain lions have inspired me with tremendous amounts of fascination and wonder. For years now, I'm currently working on a project on the North American mountain lion that is set to be released in the next couple of years. It'll be the first full-length natural history feature on mountain lions, a blue chip feature that's ever been done in the United States. And we follow specific individuals, and you get to watch their stories unfold. So yeah, mountain lions I think have taught me more than most wildlife has, as far as you know, maybe the reasons why they are misunderstood, and maybe the reasons why they deserve a little more respect from you know, certain state agencies and entities out there that manage them unethically. However, I think we could have the same conversation about wolves, and I think we could have the same conversation, or could have had the same conversation about bears.
Let's give Tanner a big round of applause. Next week's speaker is local filmmaker Dan Hartman. Many of you know him from years past, something to look forward to. As many of you also know, the space is not normally an event space. If you could help me by pulling these little wooden tables to the middle, putting the folding chairs in this corner, and putting the little wooden chairs around them, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Have a good rest of your night.
I don't know how to stop this. I was trying to.
Did you?
I.
Wow. Oh no.